Well, hey folks, Jeff Salzman here, and welcome to the Daily Evolver and to another episode of This Week in the News, where I'm joined by Ankur Delight, host of the delightful 10,000 Heroes podcast, who seeks an integral perspective on issues in the news that have caught his eye. So good morning, Ankur.
Good morning, Jeff. I'm doing my best.
Yeah, good to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what do you have for me today?
So I don't have a news article today, but I do have a national holiday.
Yeah.
And I thought that would be an appropriate thing to get into. July 4th, Happy Independence Day.
Yeah.
And I just want to read a letter.
Okay.
That really touched me when I first was exposed to it, which was in college. And then just see where that leads us. And it's maybe this is almost like a integral perspective mystery hour where I'm going to read this letter and then just see kind of what different perspectives do you think this would have awakened in the listener or in our society. Okay.
Please.
So here we go. And this is a letter written by a gentleman named Ho Chi Minh. And he wrote this to U.S. President Truman early in 1946. And so he starts out, all men are created equal. They are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He's quoting, of course. This immortal statement was made in the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America in 1776. In a broader sense, this means all the peoples on the earth are equal from birth. All the peoples have a right to live, to be happy, and free. And then he quotes from the French Revolution, Declaration of the French Revolution made in 1791 on the rights of man and citizen, also states, all men are born free and with equal rights and must always remain free and have equal rights. And then he says, those are undeniable truths. Nevertheless, for more than 80 years, the French imperialists, abusing the standard of liberty, equality, and fraternity, have violated our fatherland and oppressed our fellow citizens. He's talking about Vietnam, where he's from. And they have acted contrary to the ideals of humanity and justice. And then he just talks about he's just basically a litany of complaints about imperialism. You know, they enforced inhuman laws. They set up distinct political regimes to wreak order. They've built more prisons and schools. They've ripped us off. They've drowned uprisings in rivers of blood, just standard complaining about imperialism stuff, which anybody would. And then he says, and I'm, paraphrasing a lot, omitting the middle of the letter, and then the end is, for this reason, on behalf of my people and government, I respectfully request you to interfere for an immediate solution of the Vietnamese issue. 1946. The people of Vietnam earnestly hope that the great American Republic would help us to conquer full independence and support us in our reconstruction work. Thus, with the assistance of China and the United States, both in capital and technique, our Vietnam Republic will be able to bring her share in the building up of world peace and world prosperity.
Yeah. Lovely. Yeah. Yeah, I got one for you.
Yeah.
The guy who wrote that originally bought and sold human beings. Thomas Jefferson. We all men are created equal. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Yeah. So I'll make a stab at an integral view of that, an evolutionary view, and that is that humanity evolves in fits and starts and unevenly. So in a way, it's like hypocrisy is a stage on the path. How in the world could somebody who literally bought and sold human beings, was a slave owner, Thomas Jefferson, write the words that all men are created equal and born with inalienable rights? It's mind-boggling how that could happen. But yet it did. And actually, when he wrote it, it was sort of new in the noosphere. It was new in all of words and time and thought in the way that he did it. The Greeks had some thoughts on it and so forth. They also owned slaves. They, were vicious warmongers. I mean, I'm telling you, Ankur, it ain't pretty. But this is what happened. So, what we have with July 4th is a holiday that, in the current evolution of our culture, is a touch point for this crazy fucking contradiction. Not even a contradiction. It's just the way of things, the way people and cultures grow. And we have, just to put it very simply, we have the gratitude story of America, which is the typical story of July 4th and this great country and free and brave and all of that good stuff. It's absolutely true, incredible story, but not the only story. We thought it was the only story. I was taught that it was the only story, sort of, But then there's the Grievance story. So the Grievance story is the one that Ho Chi Minh just told about what America has done to, in all kinds of ways, and that's just scratching the surface.
Well, okay, hold on. I mean, I think there's definitely truth to that in how this story played out.
Yeah.
Like how the role of America played out in Vietnam. But what I love about this, and kind of another story that I would like people to bring into the fold, is that Ho Chi Minh saw the U.S. as the first successful decolonized nation. Like, we won this war of independence against the colonial oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
So he saw us as the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, oh man, these guys did it. They threw out those evil British imperialists. Yeah. And I don't think there's irony in this letter.
Yeah.
I think he's like, we need help throwing off these French imperialists. Who are we going to go to? Yeah. We're going to go to the people that did it. And now they got the guns and they can help us. And so I don't see this as a diss. I see it as like this incredible poignant moment of betrayal where he was like, wait, Big Brother's not on my side. Yeah. That's what I love about this.
That is a terrific, I think, correct interpretation, because we're talking 1950. We're talking, World War II is just, getting settled down. This is Harry Truman. And and we weren't a colonial power in that sense of certainly the way France and the Europeans did it.
Yeah.
But he was unironically saying, you're the guys, come and save us from the French.
Help a brother out.
Yeah.
And not only did we not do that, but then we, how the story went. But I just love that. And so
in time there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it helps me see July 4th because all the flag waving, it's not my personal culture. I associate the US flag, and this is messed up. And I've undone this in years, but I'd say until 5 years ago, I associate it with racism and white supremacy.
Yeah.
And that's just that's just lame because it's a flag and nobody owns that. Like, I was born here, it's just like, why do I have to have that story? So I've gotten out of that story, but I want to identify the US flag as the flag of decolonization. And we're the first nation to decolonize in the modern era.
Yeah.
And we inspired Haiti, and we inspired all these nations in Latin America, and we inspired Ho Chi Minh.
Yeah.
And to really take our rightful place in the architecture of decolonization and be like, that's what the flag is.
Yeah. No, lovely. Lovely, Ankur. I love it. I'm actually sitting here, vibing on it. One of the things I love about integral thinking is, in some ways, at least, one of the ways I think of thinking about it is that the world in the culture, it's sort of an infinite field. There's just so much that has happened. There's so much that is happening. It's hard to see the, sort of bigger currents. And there's lots of ways that we can connect dots to tell the story of what's happened and why we're here. We can connect these dots. Makes perfect sense. A lot of people just stick with the dots they've connected.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these dots, there's these dots. You had the Grievance story, with the racism, white supremacy. That's what you felt when you saw the flag. I felt pride. And, when I was a kid standing in the village green, literally, and they're playing taps for the dead soldiers. And, that's deep.
Yeah.
And they're both deep and they're both true. They're completely defensible.
Yeah.
And they're emblematic of the culture war. And this is where integral comes in handy, because if we can deeply feel both of those and just see how they arose in history, and this Ho Chi Minh, what an interesting thread to connect through here. This sort of unironic, this moment in time where the U.S. was seen as, we're going to be the ones who help the, colonial throw off the shackles like we did, at least, that's one story of the founding of America. But what a big history. I mean, how rich. I mean, I think of the wonderful line from one of my favorite poems by Wisława Szymborska. And she said, the tapestry of circumstance is intricate and dense. And I just love that. It's dense. And yet you can see growth and maturation in the process as a whole, just like if you think of a child, a little individual child, that yes, there's 3 years old and there's 6 years old and there's 12 years old and there's 20 and there's 40, and they're different. You can't understand that child without knowing where they are in that growth trajectory, or that person. And yet still that person, and the tapestry of their circumstances intricate and dense. And yet we can see growth in the, that is just built in. It's built into the cosmos. So that's happening in culture too.
Yeah. It brings to mind another discussion I was having with a friend about whether we can ever really, there's this term now, like family of origin and family of choice. But this idea that whatever we may think of, or however we may react, or how comfortable we may feel, it seems to me it's like very difficult, or it's impossible to escape our family of origin. It's like, even if everybody is dead, like you're still related to it. And there's this phrase people say, like, America, love it or leave it. And it just really seems like there's you're born here. Like, what option do you have to leave it? You could leave it physically, right? You could go. I lived as an expatriate for 15 years, but you can't really, like a family. You can't
no.
There's just love it. Like there's just accept that this is where you're from.
Thank you. Yeah, I like embrace dignify your life, man. Your karma. You're here. You're from this family. You're in this nation. You remind me, and maybe we can splice it in, but the wonderful crescendo of the song Anthem from the play Chess. And he sings, he's a grandmaster chess man, and I forget, he's defected or whatever, but he talked about, how can I leave her? Where would I start? My land's only borders lie around my heart. Let men's petty nations tear themselves apart. My land's only borders lie around my heart. We should play it. We'll splice it in. And you can we have choices. We can turn away and we can try to put on blinders, and we can do whatever, and we go to therapy, and, but accepting it, and not only accepting it, embracing it is a better way to go. I mean, I don't know if it's a better way to go. They're all part of that's again, a good old integral. Therapy, prayer, whatever. Even, rejection. It may be exactly what is needed in any given moment, but just let's see the bigger picture and embrace it.
Yeah. I think, all those strategies are the strategies, and we need to feel safe. And so we may need some of those things to feel safe, like never talking to these people again. That's cool. But the idea that you would ever be able to escape it, to really deeply escape it is
Yeah.
I feel complete. I feel celebratory. I mean, I'm not going to
feel very happy.
A parade or throw any candy or anything, but I feel like I've celebrated in my way.
Yeah. So what did you do for the 4th? Here we are. We're talking on the 6th, right?
Yeah.
So, what did you do? Anything fun? Or
okay.
How does it actually arise for Ankur Delight and his family, your wife and your little girl and your kind of Americana town?
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to share. I'm so excited. Okay. So I don't normally take holidays. It's not part of my personal work culture. So I did not anticipate taking a holiday. I have a coaching call that I run in the morning at 7:30. I did that for a couple hours. And then I had like a couple other calls. One of them canceled. And my wife was like, hey, some of our best friends, like the godmother of our daughter, and we're the godparents of their daughter, they're like, they want to have us over for breakfast. It's like, oh, fantastic. And we had waffles. It's awesome. And then we all went to this river spot that's like kind of a secret spot where you walk through a field, across the street from our house. We cross the road, go through this 80-acre farm, this really like buggy, polleny meadow that's like super overgrown. And you come out of this river spot, and we just spent like hours hanging out in the river and next to the river. Beautiful, like cold water. And it was just epic. And I had a work call, which for my like coaching sales call kind of thing is just deeply connecting about somebody's life for 45 minutes and then telling them for 2 minutes what I might be able to do. So that just always feels like a gift to do that call, because I just love learning about people. So I did that while I was walking through the river and like waiting and it just felt like, God, is this really my life? It's amazing. And then for the afternoon, we went to this ocean spot, this beach with some other friends, and spent like 4 hours at the beach and swam in the ocean and had this sort of like ridiculously gourmet picnic. It just, it was amazing.
Fantastic. I love that you did both the freshwater stream and the ocean. I mean, aren't they wonderfully different and yet so deep? Water.
Yeah. Gorgeous. Right? Yeah.
And then also walking around with your phone, talking to somebody and letting that be part of it, in a good way. And then God bless America for inventing the cell phone and, hooking us all up to the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only just America, but the military industrial complex that that put all that research money into DARPA that made this possible.
I know. Again, sort it out, people, connect your dots. Very
wacky.
But here we are. Well, wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. That sounds lovely.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Jet. Anything you'd like to share about your holiday? Did you take the holiday?
Yeah, pretty traditional. Went to a picnic with friends, and it was a very rainy day. We've had a very rainy spring. So we managed to eat outside between showers, and that was nice. But then we had this hellacious rain with thunder and lightning. And of course, I love that. So, yeah. They canceled the drone show. Here's the evolution of the celebration of the 4th of July in Boulder, at least partly. This is in the third person, the technology of it. No more fireworks in Boulder. From now on, drone shows. So this was to be the first drone show. It's over the big stadium at CU. And they had to cancel it because of the rain. So,
And what's a drone show?
oh, that's where they have the drones. They've got lights on them, and they launch 1,000 or 10. I don't know how many drones, and they're all remote controlled, and they form these various patterns of fireworks, of the flag, of George Washington's face, of whatever. They're just beautiful shapes and movement. They're really something. You can see them on YouTube. There's drone shows all over the place. And I think they're the next thing after fireworks, because fireworks, for Boulder, this year it wouldn't be a problem because we've had rain, but it's always a little bit of a fire factor, and we have enough fires already. So that it doesn't feel right. And it's also rockets and smoke and fire and carbon and whatever. So aesthetically, the drones are far more elegant.
Oh my God. Yeah. My neighbors are rocking all these fireworks, and the trash is like littering my lawn. And I'm like, am my house going to jump in?
I know.
Jeez, everybody, chill out. Chill out with the fireworks. Yeah.
Yeah. And I grew up in, kind of rural, traditional and earlier, if you will, culture, where there was always a kid with a finger blowed off, that it was just, everybody knew the kid with his finger blowed off.
Oh, man.
Anyway, what fun.
Yeah.
Wow. So, all right. Well, you take care, and we'll see you next week. And this was fun. I like just springing it on me.
Perfect.
Thanks, folks, for listening. This is Jeff Salzman signing off. See you at the next Daily Evolver.